read a classic poem, please? This is just
Wait,
one.
wait, wait. The stream's going back up now.
Okay, did
Guys,
it work?
this one's.
So what's better? I'm using game capture.
Was
Yeah,
it
worked.
working?
It worked.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, the
Guys,
file is actually being made as we're going. So like, when
Guys,
Okay.
this one's just this one's for fun. It's not that. Okay. Okay. This one's good. Okay. It's called Stacy's mom.
no. Hey,
Stacy's
we
mom
guys,
has got it
guys.
going
We
on.
have one follower.
That is a song.
Yes,
Owen.
Waited
yes,
for
it is.
so long. Stacy
Yes,
can't you see?
Owen.
Owen,
I'm
Owen,
sorry.
Owen, you're breaking the rules.
As the resident guardian of contemporary literature, I'm gonna say that does not apply,
Okay,
and I'm
we
gonna
may
have to stop you.
Follower, but we only have 2 views right now.
Yes.
I'm one of them.
Who is my one follower? Here to hoe. I banned him.
These are the dark days for the Twitch.
How do I change my profile?
And try to go on. I just listen to a lot of ABBA.
Not a problem. Oh. Wow. Oh wow. I just looked at demographics.
Wait, what?
Look at demographics
What demographics?
in Civ.
Ooh.
The demographics is scary if you're not Babylon.
Unfortunately, only one of us is Babylon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't look too good, does it? You are the worst in approval, though.
Yes. Does
Because
that
me
really
and you
matter
are
enough?
friends with each other, and neither of us are friends with Alexander.
Doesn't really matter to me.
Oh, you know what we should do is ban all his luxury resources.
Okay, are we all ready to go?
Yes.
Does everybody know their parts? Doesn't matter, I have them written down in case you forget.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Sounds good.
I know.
I get
Okay,
most of
ready
my
to go?
happiness from non-luxury sources. Well, actually, I can't say that.
Okay, and thus we begin. The following is a one-act play titled Trifles by Susan Glaspell. Take a sip of-
1 second. I need to get this water.
Hit the damn next turn button, Ben.
The kitchen in the now abandoned farmhouse of John Wright. A gloomy kitchen, and left without having been put in order. Unwashed pans under the sink, a loaf of bread outside the bread box, a dish towel on the table, other signs of incompleted work. At the rear, the outer door opens and the sheriff comes in, followed by the county attorney and Hale. The sheriff and Hale are men in middle life. The county attorney is a young man. All are much bundled up and go at once to the stove. They are followed by the 2 women. The sheriff's wife first. She is a slight wiry woman, a nervous face. Mrs. Hale is larger and would ordinarily be called more comfortable looking, but she is disturbed and now looks fearfully about as she enters. The women have come in slowly and stand closer together near the door.
This feels good. Come up to the fire, ladies.
I'm not cold.
No, wait, hold on. Rubbing
Oh, wait.
his hands, and then after taking a step forward.
I'm not cold.
Unbuttoning his overcoat and stepping away from the stove as if to mark the beginning of official business.
Now, Mr. Hale, before we move things about, you explain to Mr. Henderson just what you saw when you came here yesterday morning.
By the way, has anything been moved? Are things just as you left them yesterday?
Looking about.
It's just the same. When it dropped below 0 last night, I thought I'd better send Frank out this morning to make a fire for us. No use getting pneumonia with a big case on. But I told him not to touch anything except the stove. And you know Frank.
Somebody should have been left here yesterday.
Oh, yesterday, when I had to send Frank to Moore Center for that man who went crazy, I want you to know I had my hands full yesterday. I knew you could get back from Omaha by today, and as long as I went over everything here myself...
Well, Mr. Hale, tell just what happened when you came here yesterday morning.
Harry and I had started to town with a load of potatoes. We came along the road from my place, and I got here just as I said. I'm going to see if I can't get John Wright to go with me on the party telephone. I spoke to Wright about it once before, and he put me off, saying folks talk too much anyway. All he asked was peace and quiet. I guess you know how much he talked about himself. But I thought maybe if I went to the house and talked about it before his wife, though I said to Harry that I didn't know his wife and wanted to make such difference to John.
Let's talk about that later, Mr. Hale. I do want to talk about that, but tell now just what happened when you got to the house.
I didn't hear or see anything. I knocked on the door, and it was all quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was past 8 o'clock. So I knocked again, and I thought I heard somebody say, "Come in," but I wasn't sure. I'm not sure yet, but I opened the door. This door.
Indicating the door by which the two women are standing.
And there in that rocker
Pointing to it.
sat Mrs. White. Or Wright.
They all look at the rocker.
What was she doing?
She was rocking back and forth. Had her apron in her hand, was kind of, pleating it.
And how did she look?
Well, she looked kind of queer.
How do you mean queer?
Well, as if she didn't know what she was gonna do next, and kind of done up.
How did she seem to feel about your coming?
Why, I don't think she minded, one way or the other. She didn't pay much attention. I said, "How do, Mrs. Wright? Ain't it cold?" And she said, "Is it?" and kind of went on pleating her apron. Well, I was surprised. She didn't ask me to come up to the stove or sit down. But I just sat there, not even looking at me. So I said, "I want to see John." And then she laughed. I guess you would call it a laugh. I thought of Harry and the team outside, so I said a little sharp, "Can't I see John?" "No," she says, kind of dull-like. "Ain't he home?" Says I. "Yes," says she, "he's home." "Then why can't I see him?" I asked her, out of patience. "'Cause he's dead," says she. "Dead," says I. She just rocked her head. She just nodded her head, not getting a bit excited, but rocking back and forth. "Why, where is he?" says I, not knowing what to say. She just pointed upstairs, like that.
Himself pointing to the room above.
I got up, with the idea of going up there. I walked from there to here. Then I says, "Why, what did he die of?" "He died of a rope around his neck," says she, and just went on pleating her apron. Well, I went out and called Harry. I thought I might need help. Then we went upstairs. There he was lying.
I think I'd rather have you go into that upstairs where you can point it all out. Just go on now with the rest of the story.
Well, my first thought was to get that rope off. It looked...
Stops. His face twitches.
But Harry went up to him and said, "No, he's dead all right, and he'd better not touch anything." So went back down the stairs. She was still sitting that same way. "Has anybody been notified?" I asked. "No," she says, unconcerned. "Who did this, Mrs. Wright?" said Harry. He said it businesslike. And she stopped pleating her apron. "I don't know," she says. "You don't know," says Harry. "No," says she. "Weren't you sleeping in the bed with him?" says Harry. "Yes," says she, "but I was on the inside." "Somebody slipped a rope around his neck and strangled him, and you didn't wake up," says Harry. "I didn't wake up," she said after him. "We must have looked as if we didn't see how that could be, for after a minute," she said, "I sleep sound." Harry was going to ask her more questions, but I said maybe we ought to let her tell her story first to the coroner or the sheriff. So Harry went fast as he could to the Rivers place, where there's a telephone.
And what did Mrs. Wright do?
By the way, like, you guys aren't actually playing Civ while doing this, are you?
No.
There's nothing on the stream.
You should be. Well, Ben is, isn't he?
I'm waiting for Jono to finish his
J.O.,
turn.
yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
And what did Mrs. Wright do
You guys
when
have been
she
waiting
knew
for like
that
5
you had
minutes.
gone to the corner?
She moved from that chair to this one over here.
Oh,
And-
sorry. Pointing to a small chair in the corner.
And just sat there with her hands held together and looking down. I got a feeling that I ought to make some conversation. So I said that I had come to see if John wanted to put in a telephone.
Ben, you'd
and
have
she-
to alt tab out back in for this turn.
I
Sorry.
And
know,
she
I
just-
was checking the stream. Jesus.
And she just started to laugh, and then she stopped and looked at me, scared.
The county attorney, who has his notebook out, makes a note.
I don't know, maybe it wasn't scared. I wouldn't like to say it was. Soon Harry got back, then Dr. Lloyd came, and you, Mr. Peters. So I guess that's all I know that you don't.
Looking around,
I guess we'll go upstairs first, and then out to the barn around there.
to the sheriff.
You're convinced that there was nothing important here? Nothing that would point to any motive?
Nothing here but kitchen things.
The county attorney, after again looking around the kitchen, opens the door of a cupboard closet. He gets up on a chair and looks on a shelf, pulls his hand away, sticky.
Here's a nice mess.
The women draw nearer. To the other woman,
Mrs. Peters, assume.
that is
Jono.
Ben. Yes, it is, Jono.
Oh, sorry. Her fruit. It did freeze.
To the lawyer,
She worried about that when it turned so cold. She said the fire'd go out and her jars would break.
Well, can you beat the woman held for murder and worrying about her preserves?
I guess before we're through, she may have something more serious than preserves to worry about.
Well, women are used to worrying over trifles.
Title justification, I like it.
the two women move a little closer together. With the gallantry of a young politician,
And yet, for all their worries, what would we do without the ladies?
the women do not unbend. He goes to the sink, takes a dipperful of water from the pail, and pouring it into a basin, washes his hands. Starts to wipe them on the roller towel, turns it for a cleaner place.
Dirty towels!
Kicks his foot against the pans under the sink.
Not much of a housekeeper, would you say, ladies?
Stiffly,
There's a great deal of work to be done on a farm.
To be sure, and yet,
with a little bow to her,
I know there are some dicks in country farmhouse which do not have such roller towels.
he gives it a pull to expose its length again.
Those towels get dirty awfully quick. Men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be.
Ah, loyal to your sex, I see. But you and Mr. and Mrs. Wright here were neighbors. I suppose you were friends too?
Shaking her head.
I've not seen much of her of late years. I've not been in this house. It's more than a year.
And why was that? You didn't like her?
I liked her well enough. Farmers' wives have their hands full. Mr. Henderson. And then,
Yes?
it never
Looking
seemed like a very
Looking about,
it never seemed like a very cheerful place.
No. It's not cheerful. I shouldn't say she had the homemaking instinct.
Well, I don't know if White had either. Right.
You mean that they didn't get on very well?
No, I don't mean anything, but I don't think a place be any cheerfuler for John Wright being in it.
I'd like to talk more of that a little later. I want to get to the lay of the things upstairs now.
he goes to the left, where 3 steps lead to a stair door.
I suppose anything Miss Peters does will be all right. She was to take in some clothes for her, you know, and a few little things. We left in such a hurry yesterday.
Yes, but I would like to see what you take, Miss Peters, and keep an eye out for anything that might be of use to us.
Yes, Mr. Henderson.
The women listen to the men's steps up the stairs, or on the stairs, then look about the kitchen.
I'd hate to have men coming into my kitchen, snooping around and criticizing.
She arranges the pans under the sink, which the lawyer had shoved out of place.
Of course, it's no more than their duty.
Ben?
Sorry,
Yes, now.
when my
This is becoming classical literature sans Civ5.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
if this is interrupted by Civ, that's perfectly fine. That's the point of the stream. Like, so
no,
when somebody
what
just
happened was
randomly interrupts somebody with like a comment about the Civ game, that's fine.
Yeah.
no, what happened was when I have it I have the play open in the Steam overlay.
Sure.
And when I close it and open it, throws me to the bottom of the page.
Mm.
So I'm just taking a second to open it in.
Oh, okay.
So, continue, Ben.
I just need to find my place again.
Duty's all right.
Duty's all right, but I guess that deputy sheriff that came out to make the fire might have got a little of this on.
Gives the roller towel a pull.
Wish I'd thought of that sooner. Seems mean to talk about her for not having things sicked up when she had to come away in such a hurry.
Who has gone to a small table in the left rear corner of the room, I should read the name here. Mrs. Peters, who has gone to a small table in the left rear corner of the room and lifted one end of a towel that covers a pan.
She had bread set.
Stands still. Mrs. Hale, eyes fixed on a loaf of bread beside the bread box, which is on a low shelf at the other side of the room, moves slowly toward it. Ben?
Sorry, I thought that it was all one big stage direction. She was going to put this in there.
Picks up loaf, then abruptly drops it, in a manner of returning to familiar things.
It's a shame about her fruit. I wonder if it's all gone.
Gets up on the chair and looks.
I think there's some here that looks all right. Miss Peters? Yes, here.
Holding it toward the window.
This is cherries, too.
Looking again.
I do believe it's only one.
Gets down, bottle in her hand. Goes to the sink and wipes it off on the outside.
She'll feel awful bad about after all her hard work in the hot weather. I remember the afternoon I put up my cherries last summer.
She puts the bottle on the big kitchen table, center of the room. With a sigh, is about to sit down in the rocking chair. Before she is seated, realizes what chair it is.
Going on where there's
I'm
happening?
taking my turn right now.
Oh, okay.
With a
I
slow-
don't see anything on the
The
stream.
issue is I have to go back and forth between the game and the thing.
There's
Of course
also
it's up better. Oh, okay. You're playing again now.
It's-
Alright,
Before-
there's also a 40-second delay.
fair enough.
Before she is
We have
seated,
5 people again. That's pretty nice.
realize
I relaunched it.
Before she is seated, realizes what chair it is. With a slow look at it, steps back. The chair which she has touched rocks back and forth.
Well, I must get those things to the front room closet.
She goes to the door at the right, but after looking into the other room, steps back.
You coming with me, Mrs. Hale? You could... Oh, you could help me carry them.
They go in the other room and reappear. Mrs. Peters carrying a dress and skirt. Mrs. Hale following with a pair of shoes.
My, it's cold in there.
She puts the clothes on the big table and hurries to the stove. Mrs. Hale examining the skirt.
What is
Right
this
was
stream?
close. I think maybe that's why she kept so much to herself. She didn't even belong to the ladies' aid. I suppose she felt she couldn't do her part. And then you don't enjoy things when you feel shabby. She used to wear pretty clothes and be lively when she was Minnie Foster. One of the town girls singing in the choir. But that was 30 years ago. This all you was to take in. That's
She said she wanted an apron. Funny thing to want, for there isn't much to get you dirty in jail. Goodness knows. But I suppose just to make her feel more natural. She said they was in the top drawer in the cupboard. Yes,
Stream
here.
isn't working
I can hear
And
the
then here,
smile
her little-
J.O. is saying this with.
And then her little shawl that always hung behind the door.
Stream isn't working again.
Open stair door and looks.
Yes, here it is.
Quickly shuts door leading upstairs. Mrs. Hale abruptly moving toward her.
Sorry, it's tabbing out also makes the. For future reference, I'll need a physical copy of any red works.
Read
I
that.
just... Oh yeah, we now have a new viewer. Ryan has just turned on to the stream.
Please.
Peters?
We are giving away $20.
We're not giving away $20. We're giving away a copy of the annotated Brothers Grimm.
I love you, Linda.
Get 50.
If after we get 50 viewers and think of a decent thing. Blah 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 blah.
I want everyone
Miss Peters.
to retweet the hashtag XFactors80.
Yes, Miss Peters.
Hold on. Yes, Mrs. Hale?
Do you think she did it? Dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
what?
Ba-ba.
in a
Mrs.
frightened
Peters,
voice.
in a frightened voice.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I don't think she did. Asking for an apron and her little shawl, worrying about her fruit.
Mrs. Peters
Worrying
starts
about
to
John
speak,
Oliver.
glances up, where footsteps are heard in the room above. In a low voice,
Mr. Peters says it looks bad for her. Mr. Henderson is awful sarcastic in his speech, and they'll make fun of her saying she didn't wake up.
Well, I guess John Wright didn't wake when he was slipping that rope under his neck.
Oh, I know it's strange. It must have been done awfully crafty and still. They say it was such a funny way to kill a man, rigging it all up like that.
That's just what Mr. Hale said. There was a gun in the house. He says that's what he can't understand.
Mr. Henderson said coming out of that was needed for the case was motive. Something to show anger or sudden feeling.
I like how you're slowly developing Western accents.
I know.
It doesn't say
I'm
that
trying
it's.
to-
It doesn't say that it's in the West.
No, it doesn't.
It's the style of the writing.
Yeah, we all
is.
just
It
assumed.
It's the Western accent.
Oh, Ryan
Stop
is
that.
wondering if he could trade the magic card for $50.
No, it was a
Well, he's
$60
getting
magic
20
card.
anyway. I think it's a little greedy to ask for.
On with the play. Mrs. Hale, who is
That's
standing
not how
by...
I
giveaways
just want
work.
to say thanks for all the support we're getting via Twitter. Hashtag X-Factor Ladies Week has like over 300,000.
Yeah, because you took the highest trending tag you could find and started tweeting about the Twitch stream with it. That doesn't make our stream popular.
Yes, it does. And do you see
Oh,
how many
man.
people we have? 7. That's how
Oh my god. No,
We-
Oh
gotta
my
get-
God.
we have 2 followers now.
We gotta continue with the play, come on.
Continue
Come
with
on,
the play.
guys, we're
Here we
reading
go.
our duty to classical literature.
It's wiped to here.
This is contemporary.
Oh, this is contemporary literature.
Mrs. Hale, who's standing by the table.
Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here.
She puts her hand on the dish towel, which lies on the table. Stands looking down at the table, one half of which is clean, the other half messy.
Why, it's wiped to here.
Makes a move as if to finish work, then turns and looks at the loaf of bread outside the bread box. Drops towel, in that voice of coming back to familiar things.
Wonder how they are finding things upstairs. I hope she had it a little more read up there. Read up there. You know, it seems kind of sneaking. Locking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house to turn against her.
But Mrs. Hale, the law is the law.
I suppose 'tis,
Give me a second
What's
here.
happening on the stream?
Unbuttoning her coat.
'cause I'm tabbed out. Better loosen up your things, Miss Peter. You won't feel them when you go out.
Mrs. Peters takes off her fur tippet, goes to hang it on a hook at back of room, stands looking at the under part of the small corner table,
She was piercing a quilt.
piecing.
Piercing. Oh, piecing. Fuck. Okay. I was wondering why you would piece a quilt. Okay. Pierce a quilt. Okay. Piecing a quilt.
Okay. she brings the large sewing basket, and they look at the bright pieces.
It's log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she was gonna quilt it or just knot it.
Footsteps have been heard coming down the stairs. The sheriff enters, followed by Hale and the county attorney.
I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
The men laugh. The women look abashed. County attorney rubbing his hands over the stove.
Frank's fire didn't do much up there, did it? Well, let's go to the barn and get things cleared up. And get that cleared up.
The men go outside. Mrs. Hale resentfully.
I don't know why, as they're acting so strange. Are taking up our time with little things while we're waiting for them to get the evidence?
She sits down at the big table, smoothing out a block with smoothing out a block with decision.
I don't see as it's anything to laugh about.
Mrs. Peters apologetically.
There are 8 people on the stream.
But of course you were.
More.
But I'm awful glad you came with me, Mrs. Hale. It'll be lonesome for C sitting.
You're not
Why,
reading
yes.
the right part. You are not reading the right part. Mrs. Peters apologetically.
No, she didn't have a cat.
Nope.
We're supposed to be professional
Why is he's?
No.
Why is
Of
a
course they got
birdcage?
an awful important things
Oh,
on
I
the
don't.
mind.
I don't know. I don't know if she's nervous.
Just stop. We will continue. You will catch up with the next line. Pulls
Uh,
up chair and joins Mrs. Hale at the table. Mrs.
Oh,
Hale
oh. Of course they got awful
Oh.
important things on their minds.
pulls up a chair
I'm
and
trying to promote a
joins,
stream here.
and joins Mrs. Hale at the table. Mrs. Hale examining another block.
Miss Peters, look at this one. Here. This is the one she was working on. And look at the sewing. All the rest of it's been so nice and even. And look at this. It's all over the place. Why, it looks as if she didn't even know what she was about.
After she has said this, they look at each other, then start to glance back at the door. After an instant, Mrs. Hale has pulled at a knot and ripped the sewing.
Oh, what are you doing, Mrs. Hale?
Mrs. Hale mildly.
Sorry, I'm taking turn. I'm taking out a. I'm trying to take out a machine gun with crossbowmen.
Wouldn't be machine gun, it would be GAT, unless someone's managed to get ballistics.
This wouldn't
Sorry,
be as...
Gatling gun. Oh, just pulling out a stitch or two that's not sewed very good. Bad sewing always makes me fidgety.
Up, 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 up.
Oh, what are you doing, Mrs.
Ah,
Hale?
Jesus Christ!
Ian isn't reading his stage direction.
I was going to, but you beat me to it. Threading a needle.
Thread the needle.
Bad sewing always makes me fidgety. Mrs. Peters nervously.
Oh, fuck.
Ah, fuck!
I don't think we,
That's fine.
I don't think we ought to touch things. Oh,
I'll just
he's
finish up-
finishing nervously.
I'll just finish up this end.
Suddenly stopping and leaning forward.
Miss Peters,
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
what do you suppose she was so nervous about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what she was so... Why? I don't... Holy shit. I don't know, as she was so nervous. I sometimes so awful queer when I'm just tired.
Mrs. Hale starts to say something, looks at Mrs. Peters, then goes on sewing.
Well, I must get these things wrapped up. They may be through sooner than we think.
Give me a second here. I'm taking 2 seconds. I'm promoting the stream.
Alright.
Alright, good stuff. I'll take a turn in Civ5.
You're too quiet, Lyndon. I can't hear you. Sorry, what?
Yeah, what?
Lyndon, you're very, very far away.
If you are enjoying games and literature, you should go on Twitter and post hashtag XFactor80s Week.
Yeah, by the way, we're
And hashtag trifles.
that as well. Like, I've been looking at
Oh
all the
shit, they're
pictures,
gonna get my aluminum.
and,
Holy shit.
I'm very impressed by everything.
Who's
you
gonna
guys
get your
have done.
aluminum?
Burbs, I haven't been paying attention. They've been taking they just took out my coal mine. I've been going back and forth between the
What
plans.
happens if you have a unit which requires a resource and then you lose that resource?
They suffer a combat efficiency penalty.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Sorry. Just need to,
Let me know. Let me keep somebody over time. Let us know if the viewer count gets bigger.
Well,
Okay.
here's a bird cage. Oh wait, no, never mind.
I gotta find where we are. Just give me a second. What was the last line read?
I think it's something to do with the bird cage.
last line read.
Oh wait, no. Mrs. Hale starts to say something, looks at Mrs. Peters, then goes on sewing.
Okay.
Then Jono says,
Well, I must get things wrapped up. They may be a bit sooner than we think.
Putting apron and other things together.
I wonder where I can find a piece of paper and string.
In that cupboard, maybe.
Mrs. Peters looking in a cupboard.
Why? Here's a bird cage.
Holds it up.
Did she have a bird, Mrs. Hale?
Well, I don't know whether she did or not. I've not been here for so long. There was a man around last year selling canaries cheap, but I don't know as she took one. Maybe she did. She used to sing real pretty herself.
Mrs. Peters
Seems-
glancing around.
Seems funny to think of a bird here, but she must have had one, or else why would she have a cage? I wonder what happened to it.
I suppose the cat got it.
No, she didn't have a cat. She's got feeling that some people have about cats, being afraid of them. My cat got in her room, and she was real upset and asked me to take it out.
My sister Bessie was like that. Queer, ain't it?
Mrs. Peters examining the cage.
Why, look at this door. It's broke. One hinge is pulled apart.
Mrs.
Okay.
Hale looking too.
Looks as if someone had been too rough with it.
Why, yes.
She brings the cage forward and puts it on the table.
I wish they're going to find any evidence they'd be about it. I don't like this place.
Future note. Well, first of all, you stole my
shit.
line. Second of all, future note. I should never be a main character
Yeah.
unless I do
Stuff
screen.
I can't see anything on the.
Yeah, because I have to tab out to read it, so you can't.
Can you like take your laptop and read it from your laptop
Oh, I can. Give me a second.
or your phone?
I don't know
All
why I'm
right,
retarded. I
now,
literally.
now we're gonna run a commercial break.
Yes. Well, short break.
Short
I
commercial
actually
break?
literally have my laptop right.
Anybody,
I
For the
just
first-
advertised the
for the
stream. We
first 10
can't.
people that subscribe, we get no ads.
No, we don't have control over that. That is fraudulent.
I'm gonna just sign on my Twitch account and just spam a bunch of stuff in the chat like.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna get
Noob, noob, noob.
No, I already banned Tristan, and then he made an
Oh,
alternate
thank you.
account.
We can't
Ben will
ban
ban you,
anyone.
God damn it.
We went down to 4.
What's the Twitch name?
Oh no! Our peak
It's,
viewership.
What's the Twitch name?
It's a sad day in America.
What's the Twitch stream, Oliver? What's the name?
Oh, Twitch TV/Aruis.
Name Ruiz?
Aruis. AIROUIS. Oh man, I've just got us a new viewer. How does that make you feel?
Be good.
It is Gerard.
Got
I have 2 followers.
a point.
Holy shit, you got some. Hey there, Alexander.
Oh, my 2 followers are Tristan and Tristan's alternate account.
Oh
I
fuck!
follow.
Oh my god, am I fucking retarded? Am I retarded?
What did you do?
I'm fucking retarded.
Yes, we know this.
What is it, J.O.?
What is
You've
the
got,
line?
Like, you've got military. You got a great general, a Gatling gun, infantry, stacked along my borders.
Your point?
I don't like it.
Uh-huh.
Fuck off, please.
You will have 2 choices. You will vote for science's funding, and this is to reinstate science's funding.
Okay.
Or I will methodically crush you.
I don't give in to friggin' what's it called? There's a term for this.
Demand?
Communistic-
Extortion. I don't-
Communistic extortion.
Actually, I believe
Yeah.
this would be gunboat diplomacy, but
This is not. That's autocracy is gunboat diplomacy. Your order.
Are we almost ready to continue reading the
Where
thread?
what part of the play are we at?
Alright.
Let's see. We are at.
You know what? I don't appreciate extortion. You know what? You know what I'm just gonna say? I just got enough to steal a fucking tech from you, you little bitch. And I just got a tech from you.
Okay, we're at. Anyway, we're at.
Where she brings the cage forward and puts it on the table.
Yes.
Cape?
Cage. So Mrs. Hale.
Okay. I wish if they're going to be finding any evidence that it be about it. I don't like this place.
I'm completely lost. Where are we?
But I'm awful glad you came with me, Mrs. Hale. It would be lonesome for me sitting here alone.
But it'd be awful to be sitting here alone, Mrs. Hale. Oh, but I'm glad you came.
Not the
Mrs.
line at
Hale.
all.
It would be lonesome for me sitting here alone.
I thought I was gonna be a minor character. I'm just throwing that out there.
no, the women are the only
The
intelligent
women-
characters in this
Holy
play.
shit, these women like to talk a lot.
Yeah,
Wow.
but they're also the
Just,
only
yeah.
intelligent characters in
Wow,
the play.
J.O.
But we're also not sexist.
No, I suppose.
Hashtag not sexist. Hashtag trifles. Hashtag X Factors 80 week.
Yeah. Continue,
And remember,
Ben.
guys, remember, $20 to everyone on the stream.
No, that is not how that works.
No, our first subs will be ad-free for the
And
next-
no, I cannot.
The trend
Also
on
not
the
have
trend is
ad.
currently the top 3 trends are hashtag Halloween, Ebola, and X Factor.
Alright, hashtag Ebola it is.
Check out the stream.
Uh,
I think I already sent one out
I
like
could've-
that. It was my,
This
my
literature
first
is
tweet.
deadly.
it would, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be?
Okay, can
Okay.
we continue?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Drop. Shush. I'm continuing.
It
Dropping
would,
her
wouldn't it?
Dropping her sewing.
But I tell you what I do wish, Miss Peters. I wish I had come over sometime when she was here. I
Looking around the room.
wish I had.
But of course, you were offered living, Mrs. Hale, of your house and your children.
I could have come. I always stayed away because it weren't cheerful, and that's how I ought to have come. I never liked this place. Maybe because it's down in a hollow and you don't see it from the road. I don't know what it is, but it's a lonesome place, and it always was. I wish I had come over to see Minnie Foster sometime. I can see now.
Well, you mentioned reproaches.
J.O., what the fuck?
Shakes her head. Now go ahead.
Know what? Fuck you, Ian.
Well, you mustn't
I'm just
reproach
gonna-
yourself.
I'm gonna go check
I'm
it.
sorry, you're the one who screwed it up.
I'm gonna
I'd
go.
just like to take this opportunity to say that Ben will be giving out $20 to
I will not be giving away $20.
Are we ready now?
Yes.
After that disrespectful.
Well, no,
Yeah.
we're waiting for your turn, John Oliver.
Yeah.
Well, you mustn't reproach yourself, Mrs. Hale. Somehow we just don't see how it is with other folks until something comes up.
Not having children makes less work, but it makes a quiet home. A house doesn't say home, it says house. That's an important note.
Mm.
And White out to
That's
work
a
all
purpose-
day, and no company when he did come in. Did you know John White, Miss Peters?
Not to know him. I've seen
I
him
do
in town.
declare.
They say he was a good man.
Yes, good. He didn't drink. He kept his word as well as most. Bless his soul, I guess, and paid his debts. But he was a hard man, Miss Peters. Just to pass the time of day with him.
Ben, I
Shivers.
feel like you're gonna ask whether they want their shoes shined afterwards.
Like a raw wind that. First, our 100th follower gets their shoes shined.
By you will fly.
By me.
there.
No, if they send me
mail
their
us
shoes. If they mail me their shoes, I
will
think
shine them and mail them back, but they must pay for return shipping.
it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that episode of Seinfeld.
Hey,
Anyway,
Jerry, I
anyway.
got a problem.
Just to pass the time of day with him, like a raw wind that gets to the bone.
Pauses for eye falling on the cage.
This is
I
the
should
bird part.
think. I should think she. I should think
Wow,
she
Ben.
would have wanted.
Take a moment.
I was burping. I should think she would have wanted a bird. Sorry, this line. I should think
should think
she
woulda
would have wanted a
bird.
bird. But what do you
Jeff,
suppose
can you
went
give
with
me
it?
your turn?
It is also 12:20. Whoops, and I'm yelling.
Yeah, we
Um,
should wrap up soon.
I don't know.
We don't have much. We're
We
three
have to finish
quarters of
the
the way
play.
through.
Yes.
Also, end your turn, John Oliver.
Oh,
Yes.
but I gotta assign delegates, and that would take like a whole bunch of time.
No, it won't.
Miss
I
Peters.
don't know.
It takes like 20
Can
minutes.
I just
Jay.
read Miss Peters?
It takes like 2 minutes, Jo.
You
I
you
don't
can
know.
you can read Miss Peters.
I don't know. Unless it got sick and died.
She reaches over and swings the broken door. Swings it again. Both women watch.
What did you put in your delegate test, Ben? By the way,
Can you
just tell me.
not for one of I forget. Not for scientific thingamabob.
You put all your delegates in abstaining for scientific conduct?
Yeah. Not abstaining. Abstaining means you don't vote on it.
Yeah. Okay. There.
You weren't raised around here, were you? You don't know her.
Mrs. Peters shakes her head.
You don't know her?
Oh crap.
You were supposed to be the one who's better at this because Jo can't apparently keep up.
Oh wait, no, I actually lost. I don't know. Okay, wait, where is it again?
Miss Peters, not till they brought her yesterday.
Oh, not till they brought her yesterday. Sorry.
Here, I can just be. I was gonna be both women. She,
No,
come to think of it,
No,
she was
we
kind
have
of like
to
a. She was kind of like a bird herself. Real sweet and pretty, but kind of timid and fluttery. How she did change.
Silence.
Oh my fucking god, the notifications.
As if struck by a happy thought and relieved to get back to everyday things.
Sorry. Oh, I can no longer get a thingamabob. I can no longer get great profits apparently.
It's all us.
Continue, Ben.
Tell me, tell you what, Miss Peters, why don't you take the quilt with you? It might take up her mind.
Why?
Why, I think that's a really nice idea, Miss Hale.
Why? I think that's a real nice idea, Miss Hale. There couldn't possibly be any objection to it, could there? Now, just what would I take? I wonder if her patches are in here, and her things.
They look in the sewing basket. Mrs. Hale.
Here's some red. I expect that this has got sewing things in it. What a pretty box. Looks like...
But Jesus
Jesus
Oh, I didn't notice that stage direction.
Fucked it up.
brings out a fancy box.
You're a fancy box.
Thank you.
We
Now continue.
Oh, sorry, I'm moving troops.
What a pretty box.
Why, just wait a moment, dear. I'm moving my troops.
I'm assigning diplomats to the World Congress.
We're gonna free the slaves.
What you saying,
That's
Essen?
racist. That's not racist. Oh, fucking barbarians. Jesus.
Negro. Ooh.
That's racist. No, it's not.
What a pretty box.
Yeah, I was moving troops, Owen.
Really? Were you, Ben? That's
Yeah,
great.
this is Civ5 and classical
Just
literature.
read the line, Ben.
What a pretty box. Looks like something. Looks like somebody would give you. Maybe her scissors are in here.
Opens box. Suddenly puts her hand to her nose.
Why?
Mrs. Peters bends nearer, then turns her face away.
There's
Oh my
something
God,
wrapped up here in the silk.
Alexander.
We're getting
this-
to the climax of the fucking story, and Jo just comes in. Oh my god, Alexander!
He was talking about Civ. He is within his boundaries. Continue, Owen.
Why? There isn't. Why? This isn't her scissors.
Mrs. Hale lifting the silk.
It's the bird. That's.
No.
No.
Oh, Miss Peter, it's.
Mrs. Peters bends
It-
closer.
It's the bird.
Mrs. Hale jumping up.
But, Miss Peters, look at the neck. Its neck. Look at its neck. It's all.
Wow,
Other
that was
side too.
butchered.
Somebody wrung its neck.
Their eyes meet. A look of growing comprehension, of horror. Steps
They make
are
out passionately on
outside.
the floor. Oh wait, oh sorry.
No.
Oh no.
Wrong story.
Oopsie.
Miss. Oopsie.
Alexander. Ben.
Mrs. Hale slips box under quilt pieces and sinks into her chair. Enter sheriff and county attorney. Mrs. Peters rises.
Oh, I'm
County attorney, as one turning from serious things to little pleasantries.
Well, ladies.
No, you got to make this one deeper so that we can distinguish the two voices.
Well, ladies. Have you decided whether she was going to quilt it or knot it? Well, she thinks she was going to knot it. Well, that's interesting, I'm sure.
Seeing the birdcage.
Has the bird
Nice addition.
has the bird flown?
Mrs. Hale,
Uh,
putting more quilt pieces over the box.
we think the cat got it.
County attorney preoccupied.
Is there a cat?
Mrs. Hale glances in a quick, covert way at Mrs. Peters.
Miss Peters.
Oh, well. No, well, not now.
Ben, can
You're
you?
superstitious.
I'm actually
They-
doing Civ things.
County
okay. It's
To
not
sheriff.
letting me do something for some reason.
To Sheriff Peters,
There we
continuing
go.
an uninterrupted conversation.
No sign at all of anything having come up from the outside, their own robe, no. Now let's go up again and go over it piece by piece.
They start upstairs.
It would have to been someone who knew just,
Mrs. Peters sits down. The two women sit there, not looking at one another, but as if peering into something and at the same time holding back. When they talk now, it's in the manner of feeling their way over strange ground, as if afraid of what they're saying, but as if they cannot help saying it.
She liked the bird. She was going to bury it in that pretty box.
Mrs. Peters in a whisper.
when I was a girl, my kitten, there was a boy took a hatchet in before my eyes, and before I could get there,
Covers her face as an instant.
if they hadn't held me back, I would have.
Catches herself. Looks upstairs where steps are heard. Falters weakly.
Hurt him.
Mrs. Hale, with a slow look around her.
I wonder how it would seem never to have any children around. No,
Pa-
White wouldn't like the bird.
Pause.
Pause.
No, White wouldn't like the bird. A thing that sang. She used to sing. He killed that too.
Mrs. Peters, moving uneasily.
We don't know who killed the bird.
I knew John White.
Right.
Right.
It was an awful thing was done in this house that night. Mrs. Hale, killing a man while he slept, slipping a rope around his neck, that choked the life out of him.
Mrs. Hale.
His neck that choked the life out of him.
Right. A lot of emotion in there, I can tell. Her hand goes out and rests on the birdcage. Mrs. Peters with rising voice.
I don't appreciate it.
We don't know who killed him. We don't know.
Mrs. Hale, her own feeling not interrupted.
If there'd been years and years of nothing, that a bird to sing to you, it would be awful still after the bird was still.
Mrs. Peters, something within her speaking.
I know what stillness is. When we homesteaded in Dakota, and my first baby died, after he was 2 years old, and me, with no other than...
Mrs. Hale, moving.
How soon do you suppose they'll be through looking for the evidence?
I know what stillness is.
Pulling herself back.
The law has got to punish crime, Mrs. Hale.
Mrs. Hale, not as if answering that.
I wish you'd seen Minnie Foster when she wore a white dress with blue ribbons and stood up there in the choir and sang.
A look around the room.
Oh, I'd wish I'd come over here once in a while. That was a crime. That was a crime. Who's gonna punish that?
Mrs. Peters looking upstairs.
We mustn't take on.
I might have known she needed help. I knew how things could be for women. I tell you, it's queer. Miss Peters. We live closer together and we live far apart, but we go through the same things. It's all just a different kind of the same thing.
Brushes her eyes, noticing the bottle of fruit, reaches out for it.
If I was you, I wouldn't tell her fruit was gone.
Now you're turning into a New York reporter.
Tell her it ain't. Tell her it all right. Take this in and prove it to her. She may never know whether it was broke or not.
Mrs. Peters takes the bottle, looks about for something to wrap it in, takes petticoat from the clothes brought from the other room, very nervously begins winding this around the bottle, in a false voice.
My, it's a good thing the men couldn't hear us. Wouldn't they just laugh? Getting all stirred up over little things like a dead canary, as if they could have anything to do with... Wouldn't they laugh?
The men are heard coming downstairs. Mrs. Hale, under her breath.
On a daily basis, I consume enough drugs
Wrong.
to sustain...
Wrong! Absolutely wrong.
Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't.
No. Peters, it's all perfectly clear, except the reason for doing it. But you know juries when it comes to women. If there were some definite thing, something to show, something to make a story about, a thing would be connected up with a strange way of doing it.
The women's eyes meet for an instant. Mrs. Hale gets up and looks Mrs. Peters dead in the eyes and begins to recite a poem. What did you say to me, little faggot? I'll have you know I have over 300 confirmed
No,
kills.
no, 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 no.
The woman's eye meet for an instant.
Enter
Enter ale.
ale from outer door.
Well, I got the team around. Pretty cold out there.
I'm going to stay here a while by myself.
To the sheriff.
You can. What, mate? You can send Frank out for me, can't you? I want to go over everything. I'm not satisfied that we can't do better.
Now, the question here was,
No.
abso-fucking-lutely.
I can't even hear you,
Nah.
Lyndon.
I love that. I get it. I understood that reference.
Do you want?
Anybody want a Quaalude?
Amazing.
Sheriff?
I made it home okay.
Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Want to see what Miss Peters is going to take in.
The lawyer goes to the table, picks up the apron, and laughs.
Oh, I guess they're not very dangerous things the ladies have picked out. There's a few things.
Moves a few things about, disturbing the quilt pieces which cover the box. Steps back.
No, Miss Peters doesn't need supervising. For that matter, a sheriff's wife is married to the law. Ever think of it that way, Mrs. Peters? Not just that way.
Sheriff chuckling.
Married to the law.
Moves toward the other room.
I just want to come in here a minute, George. We ought to take a look at these windows.
County attorney scoffingly.
Oh, windows.
We'll be right out, Mr. Hale.
Absolutely fucking not.
Absolutely fucking not.
Hale goes outside. The sheriff follows the county attorney into the other room. Then Mrs. Hale rises, hands tight together, looking intensely at Mrs. Peters, whose eyes make a slow turn, finally meeting Mrs. Hale's. A moment, Mrs. Hale holds her. Then her own eyes point the way to where the box is concealed. Suddenly, Mrs. Peters throws back quilt pieces and tries to put the box in the bag she is wearing. It is too big. She opens box, starts to take bird out, cannot touch it. Goes to pieces, stands there helpless. Sound of knob turning in the other room. Mrs. Hale snatches the box and puts it in the pocket of her big coat. Enter county attorney and sheriff. County attorney facetiously.
Well, Henry, at least we found out that she was not going to toke it. She was going to what is it you call it, ladies?
Mrs. Hale, her hand against her pocket.
We call it not it, Mr. Henderson.
Curtain.
Browse more plays by Susan Glaspell.
Jeff Keegan has
Yeah.
disconnected. The AI will take control.
Yeah, I'm done. I am done.
Well, save Alexander and we'll.
I'm gonna be like the real. Well, oh wait, I don't know. I'm gonna be like the real Austrians during World War One. They have a pussy ass military, and you just suck the Germans' dicks. So.
Well, that was fantastic. That's what I think that was.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
What did
It's
everybody
gonna
think? No, just a quick little discussion. What did
all
everybody
right, all
think
right,
of the
all
play?
right.
'Cause that's
Alexander,
what we're
you
about.
save the game, and then you can.
Yeah.
Play was good. Honestly, it would have been better if we'd actually prepared.
Wait, why did I put my video on? Okay.
So, like, the people who were playing Civ didn't have such massive roles.
Yes, well,
And
Yes.
didn't have to tab
I
out.
didn't have that much foresight, but next time we read some contemporary literature, we will definitely
Yeah.
make sure that the people playing
Smoke
Civ.
weed every day.
When
nice,
you play the
nice
game of
addition,
weed,
Owen.
The
Yeah.
game of weed.
Absolutely fucking not.
When you play the game of
Fucking
weed.
that.
Hey. Time to read some contemporary literature from 4chan.
Nope.